What's going on, everybody? We are back. Got episode number 57 of the Club and Sub podcast. Tonight, it's just going to be me. Solo show for the night. Luke is on a trip with his friends. Lags had to work late. And C is off somewhere in the streets of Chicago. So I will be guiding you through this shit show of a card we got coming up this weekend. It's UFC Vegas 31, Makachev versus Moises. I think there's some decent spots on it, but nothing to write home about. So, yeah, I'll be taking you through it alone. I'll try to be a little bit more interactive with the chat if you guys are in here commenting. As usual, brought to you guys by betonline.ag. Nah, Narcocop, I'm good. I'm brought to you by betonline.ag for a 50% bonus up to your first $1,000 deposit. Use a promo code CLUBSUB. Guys, if you like the show, please drop a like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. So real quick, I'm not going to go through all the whole card last week because that'll just take too long. But like I said, I bet Connor last week. I said if I was wrong, I'd happily take my licks. Narco Cop says he'd help me out. Okay. If you want to jump in, Narco Cop, I will. I'll send you a link. But yeah, so I guess real quick, going through the Connor card from last week, my view is kind of, look, would I make the bet again in hindsight? No. Do I think hindsight that he should have been the favorite? No. Again, in hindsight, I wouldn't. My thinking pretty much going into the card was, look, Connor at the end of the day has been, probably being undervalued by the market. And I hold on one second, guys. Sorry, I'm trying to send Narco Cop an invite here to jump on. Sorry, guys, give me 2 seconds. Yeah, guys, I'm going solo. I'm just inviting Narco Cop on here, just so he wanted to join. And if anybody else ever wants to join, feel free to hit me up in the DMs. We're always down to have guests on. It's always a fun show. Mike, I am sending that to you right now. Hold on. I'm using the PC, which I'm not accustomed to. So there we go. Sent you the link. Yeah. So anyway, my thoughts on the Connor fight pretty much going in were the first fight, Connor, I taped it and thought Connor presented a lot of issues for him. Nothing in the second fight going into it, or the third fight, I guess, really changed my view on that. I still thought at the end of the day, Connor presented a lot of stylistic issues for him and that, he can make some adjustments to the leg kicks. The way the fight started, candidly, the first minute I thought, he had a pretty good game plan. He had a good plan to not get stuck and get his leg kicked. But ultimately, a couple things really bothered me about what happened in that fight, and that would really change my mind hindsight. Obviously the leg break is random, but I did think the first time he engaged in the pocket with Dustin, the way he was reacting to shots wasn't great. Not but he clearly didn't like getting hit when that's never really been a thing with Connor. And then the jumping of the guillotine, Hollywood Hitters just mentioned it right here. I just don't get it because we saw in the first fight he didn't have too much trouble defending Dustin's takedowns. The guy defended takedowns against Khabib, and then he jumps guillotine. Okay, the first time he did it, all right. But then if you watch closer, he's on the bottom, and Connor's actually got a pretty reasonable get-up game. And instead of trying to get up, he tried to tuck his head 2 separate times to go for the guillotine, and they did not work either time. I don't really understand why that happened. Just really, really dumb fight IQ. Ultimately, obviously that's not what cost him the fight, but that's concerning between the durability stuff, the fight IQ, all things that are really, really concerning. And hearing John Kavanagh say they were drilling guillotines in camp, it's just insane. So yeah, look, Dustin, I think clearly the way that fight played out is the side. I'd probably line him as, I don't know, maybe a 60% favorite in a rematch. I think anybody that's like, oh, Dustin clearly dominated the fight. Well, the fight played out for 4.5 minutes. Connor's the one that pulled guard. He didn't get taken down. But, Poirier looked better. There's not really much else to say about it. Not a great bet. It is what it is. We move on. Anyway, we'll get into this card. Enough with last week. Hoping to get back on the right path here. First fight of the night, we got Rodrigo Nascimento taking on Alan Baudot. And I guess if I was going to make a bet on this fight, it would probably be Nascimento inside the distance. Baudot doesn't really do anything special. He's a minus striker, and he's a horrific grappler. If you actually go back and actually look at who he's fought in his career prior to Aspinall, a bunch of weird fights in the Japanese regionals, which is pretty random. Also then went to TKO, which is a pretty poor, regional scene as it is. And I don't see anything from him there that really makes me think he can threaten Nascimento. Guys, I'm bringing on Mike, Narco Cop.
What's up?
Good, man. Thanks for joining me tonight.
You put me on the spot. I was talking about chat.
Put me on the spot.
No, I was talking about keeping the chat live, and then you're like, "Oh, I'll bring you on." I'm like, "Oh, fuck."
I thought that's what you meant, but
no,
you're
cool.
now.
It's cool. It's cool. Keep you.
But yeah, so basically, my thought on Baudot is pretty much, Nascimento should win this wherever it goes. Obviously, him getting killed by Dawkins in the first exchange is a bit concerning. But I do think, one takedown here is probably the fight. So, Mike, any thoughts here? Baudot, Makachev?
I taped this earlier today, and it's like I put it in chat earlier, and I said, there's no way I don't see Nascimento taking this guy down. And so, like, he's terrible on the ground, dude. Like, the tape is just, like, mind-boggling how bad this guy's never done anything on the ground. So, I just feel like Nascimento should be able to take him down and probably sub him. It's just the odds or the props are kind of wide. Like even for the sub, I think it's like minus 130 or something. So whatever, it's a pass for me. I'm not taking either side.
Yeah, I was looking at maybe the Nascimento ITD. I saw it was minus 160, but I hadn't had a book up with it yet. I don't know if it's still there. He should really take care of business here if he's a UFC caliber fighter, to be honest.
Yeah, like Baudot is not a UFC caliber fighter. Regionally, he got absolutely like destroyed by some light heavyweight. I don't even remember the guy's name, but somehow it was a disqualification. I don't know how.
The guy I think popped for PEDs, I'm pretty sure, after the fight.
Okay,
I know who you're talking about.
Oh, so they give you the win. Okay, so it's a little different than UFC.
Oh no, he got choked out in the fight.
He got choked out. Like he was getting dominated on the ground by a guy that probably I didn't look into him, but I think he looked like more like a striker than a fucking ground guy. But whatever. It was funny.
But yeah, second fight of the night, we got Francisco Figueiredo taking on Malcolm Gordon. Any thoughts here, Mike?
Another pass for line is, it's dogger pass for me just because Figueiredo's like low volume, doesn't look like he has much power. Even though Gordon is like fragile, and we know like one punch can probably put the guy out, and he doesn't really react well when he gets punched in the face. So, but Figueiredo's just low volume, so flat-footed. It's a pass for me altogether. Like if you're gonna take anything, I would go under 2.5 maybe, just because of the way Gordon fights. Like he's kill or be killed.
Yeah, so I actually took a small poke at Gordon here, plus 250. I pretty much agree with everything you say about Figueiredo and everything you said about Gordon with him being fragile. But Figueiredo fought Jerome Rivera, who is hilariously fragile as well, and never really even had him almost hurt. And watching that fight, he obviously reminds me of his brother, the way that he fights. The big difference is, as Z would say, Davison's hardware is insane. He's also, Davison, whatever you want to say about him, he's fast and he's extremely precise, whereas Francisco is not. He's woefully inaccurate, low volume. He's even gassier. He basically doesn't throw head strikes. It seemed like he was more comfortable trying to grapple Rivera than he was actually trying to strike with him. And so it's I'm looking at this and it's could he out-grapple Gordon? I guess, but Gordon's got pretty slick jiu-jitsu, and on the feet, unless he knocks Gordon out, I think he's going to lose minutes. Like you said, he's so low volume. Gordon's not he's a horrendous striker because he can't take a punch. He's not a horrendous striker because he doesn't know what he's doing, The
only thing that worries me is Figueiredo getting the takedowns and just laying in this guy's guard. But then again, this guy doesn't really sit, and he's going for subs all the time. So
Right, and then if it gets to round 3 and Figueiredo's gassed out, on top of him, it's going to be.
I mean, did you watch the Rivera third round? I mean, he had him fucking in a world of trouble until Rivera did Rivera things and went for a takedown. Like
round 3 of that fight convinced me to bet Jerome Rivera against Zalgas Imagulov. So,
oh fuck, it did for me too, dude. Don't even talk about it. And he looked good for the first minute and a half.
Yeah. It's funny. I didn't do a whole breakdown here from last week, but like the first minute and 40 seconds of that fight, I was like, he's doing the right things, throwing a lot of kicks,
perfect range game. I was like, oh, this is great. then he gets caught in the most weirdest fucking submission ever. Jesus Christ.
But anyway, moving on, we got Anderson Dos Santos taking on Miles Johns. I have another bet here. I played a small bet on Anderson Dos Santos. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't think I'm as anti-Johns as a lot of people are. Like, I bet Johns against Natividad, but like, I don't like a lot of what I see from Johns. The fact that, Cole Smith took his back twice, and that wouldn't be, Cole Smith's a big guy, good jiu-jitsu, wouldn't be the end of the world. And then, but you see him on Contenders, he got his back taken twice there as well. We've seen him gas out multiple times now in the UFC. And like, while I think he's clearly the cleaner striker and the better striker, Natividad if Natividad had kind of bit the mouthpiece and gone forward, he probably would have had more success. But pretty much every time he got jabbed, he disengaged. Like, Dos Santos is going to go forward and throw strikes like a zombie. I get this feeling that, Johns might be a little fragile. And Dos Santos, in terms of jiu-jitsu, is extraordinarily high level. Like, like I said, I'm not super anti-Johns. Like, I like some stuff he does. But if he's not going to take down Dos Santos here, well, he's shown he can't work off the cage. He's shown, PayPal DFS just said it. He's shown that he'll shell up when you go and throw pressure at him.
Spot on.
Right, and Dos Santos has dealt with that stuff before. Like, this isn't Andre Ewell who's going to be working off a jab and moving here. Johns is going to back up. So, like, I like Dos Santos here. What are your thoughts?
I like totally agree with you here. Like, the thing with it, it's a small cage for one.
Yeah.
2, he's always backing up to the cage. He shells up when he gets thrown at. And the one thing that Dos Santos does, if you see him, he throws a couple punches and then goes for the takedown all the time on the fence. So It's going to be there for him all day. That right there is going to be for him. And then Miles Johns, I'm not as like other people, like you're saying, they're kind of down on him. I think he's a pretty good fighter. He has a really nice jab, but he's falling in love with his hands. And that's the thing. Like, if he falls in love with his hands in this fight, he's going to start doing the same shit he was doing in that Natividad fight and back up to the cage. He's going to shell up, take a couple punches, and then Dos Santos is going to have every opportunity to take this guy down. So
you're also begging when you shell up like that to get clipped in the back of the ear and dropped. Like, it's going to happen. Like one of these fights,
his body's there for like. I mean, if you want to hit that body, it's there all day.
Like, not everybody is a mutant like Justin Gagey who can show up and eat the punishment and not die. Most people are not. So I'm with you. And if you actually look at when Dos Santos subbed Ricky Simone, it was kind of similar to what Johns does. He tagged him, and Simone kind of panic shot and got caught in the guillotine. So
yeah, I mean, and he has a nasty guillotine.
Yeah,
that's why. And I wrote that in my notes. Like, his guillotine is nasty. And I forgot who he fought. He had it Narimani. He had it in a fucking deep guillotine. I don't know how he didn't tap, but he didn't. But
I kind of like Narimani too. I actually thought that was somewhat of an impressive performance. But moving on, we got Khalid Taha taking on Sergey Morozov. Any thoughts here?
I think I'm gonna. I haven't played anything yet, but I think I'm gonna take a poke at Taha and KO. I just feel like Morozov is kind of fragile to me, and Taha, to be honest, has a lot of pop in his hands. So he kind of impressed me in the loss against Barcelos. To be honest, I mean, he was a punching bag. But man, he threw. I mean, he came back in the third a little. So, to me, it's Taha KO, and that's probably a small little poke.
Yeah, I like going into tape. I was kind of like when I first saw the line, like I'm probably going to bet Morozov. Like I had bet him against. I took a small poke at him when he fought Umar, and Man, if you told me for a fact that Morozov would attempt like 6 takedowns over 15 minutes, I'd be pretty confident in taking him as a dog here. But like that doesn't really seem to be what he wants to do. Like he kind of wants to strike with you. And kind of to your point, he is fragile. I don't think he's the most defensively sound on the feet either. And like you said, like Taha, even against Barcelos, where he was getting his head, Barcelos was playing pinball with his head. He's biting the mouthpiece and going forward. Like that's what he's going to do.
I think he caught Barcelos with a couple of nice shots in that fight.
He did, and he hits really hard, and like that combined with like the fragility of Morozov, it's like it's way too easy. Like if he was plus 200, plus 250, it would be a different story. At plus 125, it's way too easy for me to kind of imagine Taha just going forward and killing him or just hurting him over and over and over again here. So like, there's no bet for me. I don't mind. You said you like the KO prop.
Yeah, I think it's like 425. You can get it around 425. Yeah,
I don't mind.
I mean, it's not some long shot, but I just Morozov just seems to. I saw him. I think Rittenhouse knocked him out. Even though he's a decent fighter, I think he's on the tough
M1,
right now. But
right?
What is that?
He's M1, right?
He's M1, but he's on tough right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it should be a fun fight. It's probably one of the more fun fights on the card, to be honest. This card really is just fucking horrible.
Yeah, it's not one to like, oh, I got a UFC card coming up. I mean, yeah, I like fights, but it's
I was saying to my wife, I'm like, oh, if you want to do anything Saturday night, we could. She's like, aren't fights on? I'm like, yeah, I need to take the family out for a night,
That's a good one.
So anyway, we move on. We got Amanda Lemos taking on Montserrat Ruiz. I don't have a play here. I guess if Ruiz got up to like plus 450, I might poke it just because I actually do like Lemos. Obviously, physicality in WMMA is everything, and she's got that in spades, hits like a truck, seems to be able to offensively grapple. But like I still haven't really gotten over her fight with Leslie Smith where she gassed out bad. And I know it was at a higher weight class, and I know it hasn't happened since. But she's facing a girl like Ruiz is horrible, but she's going to go forward. She's going to push a pace. She's going to try to grapple hard. And it's like
arm throws.
Yeah, which she shouldn't get. But it seems to happen in WMA all the time. Right? Like it's one of those things where it's like I can so easily imagine a scenario where it's like Lemos just destroys her for like 7 minutes, and then like the 8-minute mark comes and somehow Ruiz is still there, and suddenly she hits one of those and Lemos just suffers cardio death in a scarf hold. So like I don't have much interest in playing the fight, but like if the number keeps going up, like dude, it's a WMMA fight where one girl has never really been seen on her back and is gassy against the girl who's going to try and grapple her. Now I think that girl will win, but those are big question marks, What do you think here?
It's a complete pass for me. Lemos is just, I mean, she's going to be the more physical fighter. She hits like a truck for a WMMA fight. I mean, she can crack. So, but I'm just going to stay away. I think her in the distance was like plus 120. If you're going to play her, I think you probably should take the plus money and not lay fucking 350 or 400, whatever it is right now.
Well, right. Like if she doesn't,
it's 500 now. Sorry, 500 to 600.
Like if she doesn't finish, she doesn't cover that number, right? If she doesn't, it probably looks dicey down the stretch, to be honest.
Of course not. Yeah, I agree with you.
It actually, honestly, it could be a decent live spot to keep an eye on and see whether or not Ruiz can kind of take the damage and like make her work a bit,
Have we seen Ruiz? I mean, I didn't watch much tape on this yet.
She fought Bays.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I mean, that was like
that was the worst.
That was come on. Had an arm throw over and over and over again. Come on,
dude! I couldn't believe it's honestly like I'm not trying to like throw shade at women, but like it's honestly amazing to me how like if guys go for head and arm throws in MMA, they get their backs taken. Like WMMA somehow
and he stays there.
Yeah,
they can't move
for 15 minutes. It was insane.
And the crazy thing, it kept happening over and over again. Like what the fuck? Do something.
Just throw a front kick. She's not going to catch it.
Oh, dude. It was brutal. And a lot of people had Bays in their fucking parlays.
Dude, in that. I know. I thought Bays was going to work her. I actually think Bays is decent, to be honest. But, like, it was one of those fights, like an MMA debutante coming in here with 6 career fights.
Dude.
not really where I'm trying to.
IQ was not there for sure.
No,
That's one.
no.
The only thing that bothers me about Ruiz, and I know I looked at her record earlier today, like she lost to Danielle Taylor, and I didn't tape the fight. I don't know if you taped it.
Yeah, a little bit, but
like, how did she lose to Danielle Taylor? How did she not take her down?
I mean, that is a good point. I was going to say, in fairness, Danielle Taylor, I think, took a round off Wei Li, but you know,
fine, but like, how did she not take her down?
Oh no, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you.
Whatever. It's a plus for me.
We got Preston Parsons making his UFC debut, taking on Daniel Rodriguez, and this is actually my biggest bet of the card. Like, if you guys follow me on this show enough, you guys know I almost never play big favorites. I think the last play over minus 200 I made was Curtis Blades. Obviously, that was a disaster. But I'm on Daniel Rodriguez big here. Look, I get the temptation to look at Parsons' regional career and be like, oh, he's dangerous. But then, like, you look at the guys he's fighting. It's like his fight with Jeff Peterson in his last fight. Peterson, I don't think threw more than 6 strikes. He basically just shelled up and 8 damage for 8 minutes straight. And, like, the guys he's out grappling, they're not, like, working for wizards. They're not sprawling. They're not grabbing an underhook. They're not trying to pull guys up on the fence. They're not building a base. He's just fought a level of competition in his last 5 fights that is so low. How do you trust this guy in the UFC? And you watch him, and it's tough to glean too much from his striking. But what you see when he does go forward, he doesn't move his head at all. You see when the guys rarely do throw back, they hit him over and over again. And, like, now I look at Rod, and it's like, yeah, Rod's got his defensive flaws, but this dude wasn't knocking out guys regionally. I don't think he's going to be getting UFC knockouts. Like, Rod seems pretty durable. Rodriguez's output is elite. Frankly, the kind of guys that worry me with Daniel Rodriguez are guys like Dalby who are going to sit back and make him go first, But, like, someone who's going to go forward at him that he can just jab and move on, he's going to do that all day. Like, I think he can do whatever he wants, this kid. I honestly think if Parsons tries to grapple him, like, I think, Mike, you and I were talking in Discord about this a bit, but, like, Parsons, I kind of think he's dangerous, but he's, like, almost like an aggressive blue belt. I think if he tries to grapple him, I don't think he can sub Rodriguez, and I think he's more likely to end up in a bad situation on his back or, with Rodriguez on his back than he is to put Rodriguez in a bad situation. I look at it and I'm like, I think the only ways Parsons wins is maybe he times takedowns well or, like, hurts him randomly and, like, or, like, knocks him out randomly. Like, that could happen, but I honestly think Rodriguez is, like, 85% here. What do you think?
I agree with almost everything you're saying, and I taped this pretty good, like with Parsons. I wanted to see who this guy is. Like, he fights at such a crazy pace, and like, the dude is, he's all day submission over position. Like, he's going for subs left and right in his regionals tape. Yep. I mean, he's fought. I think we said this too. I said it. He's fought pretty good guys on the regional scene. If you look at it as a whole.
Day though.
Yeah, Mike Perry, Bahamondes, we talked about it. A couple of the other regional guys, like the last fight, Peterson is not that bad. Like, he's fought. I mean, his losses are to really good competition.
Okay.
Put it that way. And the only thing I see is he's super aggressive. He's going to run into it, with Rodriguez. Like, Rodriguez is way better technically striking. This guy throws punches, and like you said, his head is directly straight on the line, never moves. Flat-footed, you name it. But the thing I like more than the Rodriguez side for me is taking the under 2.5. And I think it's like minus 215 or something. I think Rodriguez can starch this guy. Like, I have no problems with him starching this guy. I know he's been knocked out once or twice before, maybe once by Perry.
Perry knocked him out, yeah.
Perry knocked him out. And I really think Rodriguez can starch this guy just because of how he fights, dude.
I mean, the real question for me with that is just, like, what's his chin like? Because I do agree. I think Rodriguez is going to punch him in the face many times in this fight. Like, we were chatting about it, but, like, the Gabriel Green fight, if you recall, like, Gabriel Green, it turned out, has a mutant chin. Like, Rodriguez landed, like, 185 significant.
That was unreal.
And, like, I think Rodriguez is going to put on a similar performance here to that fight where he just kind of cleanly beats him. I mean, I don't disagree with you. Like, I think Rodriguez should finish him. It just makes me nervous that, like, I haven't seen how he'll react to big shots. It probably won't be good, but, like, maybe he is one of these random, like, weird guys who can just tank damage and keep coming like Green is.
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question. Like, I haven't taped Rodriguez at all, like his old fights. Have you ever seen him on his back?
Yeah, a couple times. He got taken down. Means took him down once. Perry took him down twice. He's. I mean, I'd be worried about him against like a real, like legit wrestler, like lock down, like you said, position over submission, like a guy who knows how to lock down the half guard. And
this guy does not do that. He does not do that.
Like he does the basic stuff, like get to butterfly and like like start slowly work his way up. Yeah,
that's good enough then. Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like that's my thing. Like if this guy was some like D1 wrestler or like a Gregor Gillespie 170, yeah, I would not be betting this fight, but we'll see. Maybe if D-Rod loses this fight, I will never bet a minus 200 again. I will tell you that.
You know what? I just for principle, like I know what's D-Rod at, like 260 now.
I played him at 250.
Oh wow, he's at 330 now. Oh,
honestly, I legitimately still think like I wouldn't recommend unloading at him in 330, but I honestly still think there's a data value there up there at 330.
I'd rather take the under there, to be honest. I don't see this fight going to decision.
Yeah,
I really don't.
You could actually play Rod ITD for like minus 125, I think, something like that.
That'd probably be the play then if I was to go Rod for sure.
Anyway, we move on. We got the first fight of the main card, and this is probably my most anticipated fight on the card. It's actually probably one of the best fights in the next couple of weeks. We got Billy Quarantillo taking on Gabriel Benitez. You have a lean here?
I have it. My initial lean was Billy at, but the price I think has gone down now. So I didn't take anything yet. And now it's like at 130-ish range, 140-ish range. So for right now, I'm passing. But initially, I think it opened up. Billy was at, let's see here. How high did he get? Like 180-ish?
Yeah.
I think that should have been a play there, but I didn't make it. So it's a pass for me at this point.
Yeah, it's weird because like going into tape, again, I thought I was going to play Billy almost for sure here. Like he checks a lot of the boxes I look for in a dog, to be honest. Like if you actually look at not the level of competition they fought overall, but the level they've beaten, it's actually similar. Like it's kind of crazy going back and looking at Benitez's career and seeing, his wins really aren't that great, to be honest with you. And then you look at the stats, and the stats would indicate, this is a pretty close fight. But then I taped it, and it's just like watching that Tucker fight with, the Nelson fight was somewhat concerning, but it's like Nelson's dangerous to everybody early in fights. But watching the way Tucker boxed his face off in that fight was so concerning. Now, granted, Tucker had the takedowns to break pressure, which Benitez probably doesn't have here. But, like, Benitez is so much sharper of a boxer than Tucker is, and he hits a lot harder than Gavin Tucker does.
And those leg kicks are devastating, dude.
Yeah, it's like I get it that Billy pushes an insane pace, but someone that can stick and move and that can counter him the way Benitez is going to makes it, it makes it hard for Billy to get off on that crazy output. Output is great, but output only goes so far if you're defending strikes with your face, and it's like, I don't know. I think what's the under here?
The under is, let's see, it's plus 140. 135 to 150 in different books.
That's honestly not bad. Benitez is a little fragile. That's the worst thing I can say about him, is that he's been hurt a lot before. So,
and the way Billy fights, right? He fights at that frantic, freaking, kill or be killed type of pace. So
he's going to bring a finish out of you. He's the guy that's going to drag it out there. And Billy, at some point with his style, he's going to sleep too. So I actually think that's pretty good, especially if you can get 150 on that.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't look at it, like I said, but that's probably a pretty good play there.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth I can see the path for Billy here where it's he just kind of gets off enough output, maybe lands a couple takedowns and steals the fight or finds a finish. I do think Benitez's striking is just so much cleaner, and Benitez has never really been held down when he's gotten taken down. So it's while he could land takedowns, can he keep him there?
Billy also is falling in love with his hands too.
He is. But that might, you never know. That might change his fight because Tucker was honestly embarrassing him on the feet.
My God.
That was bad. I bet Tucker in that fight, and I did not expect it was going to be that one-sided. I was just a close fight,
I agree.
But we move on. I'll stick with you here. We got Rodolfo Vieira bouncing back off his first career loss, taking on Dustin Stoltzfus.
Oh man, like Vieira, like that last fight, like dude, it was not good. Put it that way. I had him by sub. I had him in a bunch of different shit, and he just fucking death gassed after fucking 4 minutes, 3 minutes. The guy was dead. How do you compete at that high level of a BJJ guy and fucking death gas in 3 minutes? I don't get it. What happened? So like honestly, I don't fucking trust him at all. Like if anything, this might be a live spot, like where he dominates the first round, doesn't get the sub, and I'm gonna be all over Dustin. To be honest with you, it's just his cardio is such a question mark. I can't play him.
Yeah, so I 100% agree with you. It's funny. I was talking to Luke about this the other day, and I was like, that fight with Fluffy was actually legitimately scary how gassed he was. Like I have never, we've seen guys gas many times, but that was at a level that I was like in the first round where he just seemed like he wanted the fight to stop. Like he had nothing left. Like that fight should not have started round 2, to be honest.
It's mind-boggling. The thing that's mind-boggling is, dude, you've been competing in fucking grappling your whole life. And you grappled for most of that round. How did you fucking death gas?
So Uncle Tom just said this, and like this had crossed my mind when I went back. But if you go back, watch his fight with Oscar Piacotta. At the end of round 1 of the Piacotta fight, he is gasping for air. Like looks dead again. The problem is Piacotta has a 38% takedown defense, and Piacotta also is very gassy. And so round 2 starts, and it's like he goes there and just takes him down right away. They're both gassed and eventually finds a submission.
And to that point, against Safarov, I believe he was slowing down too.
Yeah, he's lucky he hit him on the feet.
He's lucky he got that sub.
So like that's the thing. It's like I honestly believe that Vieira is like the gas issues are so. First of all, the guy should be fighting at 205. He's way too big for the weight class. You can see it.
I agree.
But like I honestly think he's basically at the high end of his cardio is about 7.5 minutes. Obviously in the Fluffy fight, and like even the Fluffy fight, it's not like Fluffy was doing anything to get up or making him work. He mounted him almost instantly. Like it was. And so on the low end, he might be done in 3 minutes. Like I don't like Stoltzfus' game really at all. But what he does seem to have is like relatively decent guard retention. He plays guard a bit too much for my liking and will try to throw up stuff. I'm assuming he knows against Rodolfo Vieira.
He's not going to do it, hopefully.
I would like to believe that because I do think subbing someone in a gi is way different than subbing someone in MMA who just doesn't want to get subbed, Sure. I'm assuming he is competent enough to kind of just hang on for dear life. And like even in the clinch, Vieira doesn't set takedowns up very well. And every single guy he's fought to date has 0 takedown D. Like it wouldn't shock me. I don't know if Stoltzfus is that guy, but if at one of these fights he just gets killed before he can even close distance, But even if he can close distance, I guess my question is really what percentage can you realistically put on a sub inside 7.5 minutes? Like, can you put that over 50%? Can you put it over 55%? Because if you say 50%, you could talk me into it, but that's still like I don't think a lot of people think about how often or how hard it is to cover a finishing outcome like that 50% of the time. Now you can convince me of it, but even if it's 50%, he's still probably losing like that. You're still probably getting value on Stoltzfus at the line.
For sure.
So my view is really like I think Stoltzfus' jiu-jitsu is probably good enough that he can survive a good portion of the time until Vieira, gasses out. And once like the 7-8 minute mark hits, he's basically done. So like I took the plus 200. I think Stoltzfus is like 40% here. Like look, Vieira may just take him down and finish him instantly. I won't be surprised. Yeah. But I mean, with what we've seen from him,
I take a shot. I totally agree with you. That's why I'm just going to sit back and probably I might not get a good line because now they're onto this guy that he fucking death gasses after 2-3 minutes. So.
To be candid with you, I'm going to be out on Long Island over the weekend, so I won't have access to live betting, which is part of why I'm playing it now.
All right.
But I do agree. I mean, it's kind of the ideal. Like Sean just put it out. Fluffy was plus 1,200 after a takedown. I do think it's the ideal live betting spot, to be honest. Like you pretty much know if it goes past the round, maybe Vieira could still sub him. But at that point, anything better than plus 300 is value. So
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, we move on. We got a fun one here. We got Matthias Gamrot taking on Jeremy Stevens. I haven't made a play on this yet. I think I'm going to play the over, though. It was plus money. I was just waiting for one of my books to get it. Yeah, I mean, look, Gamrot should be on paper a pretty bad matchup for Stevens. The guy attempts almost a takedown a minute against a guy who's not very good at defending takedowns. I don't think he can hold Stevens down, which is why I wouldn't play him straight personally. Like, Stevens will immediately work up, and Gamrot's not really a guy who's going to put hooks in or like solidify position too well. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of see the fight playing out like Gamrot probably just grapples him to death, but it's a lot of clinch control on the cage and working for takedowns there. I do think there's a path for Stevens, or there's always a path for Stevens via the KO. And like I said, I don't think he can get held down here, so he'll have chances to win it. And on the money line, that's one of the reasons I won't play Gamrot, because I do think Stevens is the kind of guy where him hurting Gamrot bad on the feet twice in 2 rounds and stealing a fight is an extremely live outcome. Yeah, especially we see Gamrot's there to be hit, man. Like he is. I like the kid a lot, but he is there to be hit in the pocket. And so I like the over though, because like I don't think you can realistically put Stevens up a weight class against the guy who's going to attempt that many takedowns, finish better than like 20%. And it's kind of funny because Gamrot finished Holtzman last fight, but if you actually go back to KSW, the guy's been a mistake. I think he's won like 13 or 14 fights by decision.
Yeah, he's won a lot by decision.
Yeah. So I think the over is very, very clear. I actually think the Gamrot decision line, which is like plus 225, I think, is also pretty nice. What do you think, Mike?
To be honest, I love the over on this fight. I just think Stevens is so durable, one. He's going to get up, but I just think Gamrot is not going to sit there in the stand-up. He's going to constantly go for takedowns, in my opinion. It would be a mistake if he wants to sit there and trade or stand with Stevens. But like you said, like I could totally see fucking Stevens, knocking him down once or twice and fucking stealing rounds here. Yeah. So I wouldn't lay that much on Gamrot, but I do love the over in this fight, and the fight goes to decision. I think it's at plus money, like plus 120.
Well, because like you can't tell me Gamrot wins 70% of the time and the decision line is plus money, right? Like
it makes no sense.
He's going to be his decision lines in any fight. He's a big favorite in the UFC. Should be around evens or even minus money.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I do. To be clear, like I do like Gamrot. It's just like one of those things where you're giving me a guy who's a wrestler, which I love, but he's not going to control him on the mat, which means the nuclear hitter is going to have his shots on the feet, and I don't really want to lay 70%.
Yeah. I mean, he's plus 225 by decision, but
that's crazy. To be honest with you.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
Crazy.
That's what it is. But
so we move on. We have the co-main event. The return we didn't need. We got Miesha Tate taking on Marion Reneau in her send-off fight. One leaving retirement, one retiring. Yeah. What do you think here, Mike?
Honestly, a complete pass. Like, I refuse to bet people that are fucking 42, 43. Like, if I took a play here, I would take Reneau. She's the side, in my opinion. Miesha Tate's fucking, been out forever. It's just one of those things. Someone that's probably nearing the end of their career at 44 versus someone that's a has-been years ago that's coming back. I just refuse to play a fight like this. So it's a complete pass for me.
Yeah, I haven't bet it. I like Reneau, but like you just said, dude, she's 44, man.
44. Like, how could you fucking bet on her? I can't.
And she's like, I am the most anti-interview guy in the world. Like, I hate when other cappers are like, oh, did you hear what they said in the interview? I'm like, because how many times do people say that shit and they don't do anything?
It's nonsense, yeah.
But she's like, I can't wait to retire. And it's like, oh, God. Like, that is not
what she said?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Not the mindset
Don't do it, John. Don't do it.
And I guess my issue is, like, if you look at Miesha's career, even at her apex, she was a pretty bad minute winner. Like, she relied on wrestling in an age of WMMA where any wrestling was a cheat code because almost nobody outside of like 3 or 4 girls knew how to get off their backs. I don't think she has a particularly strong top game. Her submission game's okay, but nothing special. She's extremely low volume on the feet. She basically won the title because Holly Holm had a brain fart with 2 minutes left in the fight. Beat the fucking shit out of her for 20 minutes.
And then she chokes her out with like 2 minutes left in the fight. I remember that.
Dude, like completely. And who knows how much that changed MMA history, right? Because Nunes walked right through Misha. Would she have walked through Holm? Maybe. It happened once, but who knows? At home at like 34. But either way, I know Tate's not the better striker here. Chiasson probably would violate Miesha Tate at this point in their careers. And I am not a Chiasson guy, but just on sheer physicality. And Reneau gave her all she could take, to be honest with you. Plus, like Uncle Tom just said, like, Tate's been off for 4 years. This isn't like a year and a half.
5.
And she hasn't been. My understanding is she wasn't really training during that entire time, So it's like, okay, she decided to come back. We all know what that means, But we don't need to say it, but we all know why. It's I don't know. I think Renault's the more skilled fighter. Tate can probably hit takedowns. Renault's super dangerous from guard. I saw Gugabe mention it earlier today, but I think Reneau ITD is over plus 400, which I think is interesting. But yeah, I have the same bugaboos as you. 44-year-old going into a retirement fight. It's just Reneau should win this fight, but I have concerns. So,
and the one thing is like Miesha Tate's been subbed many times in her career, multiple times. I don't know how many exactly, but
Reneau is a dangerous submission grappler.
Very, very dangerous. That's the 1, 2. She's been subbed 3 times. So yes. Nunes, whatever. Rousey subbed her, and then Rousey subbed her twice.
But I mean, Reneau subbed Sarah McMahon, I believe, didn't she?
She might have. She's really good on the ground, especially off her back.
Reneau, if she had started
MMA,
yeah. So I don't know. I think Reneau is a side fairly clearly, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm like sitting here, like I've been looking at the line all week, like plus 120. This is.
It's slowly creeping down, John.
I know. And I feel like I should do it, but between my history of betting on women's fights and, like I'm going to get a repeat of the Jessica I fight last weekend where, Reneau gets cut open in the first round and loses on blood optics because she had a potential headbutt. But yeah, I like Reneau. If you're going to bet it, I like Reneau. Reneau ITD is nice. I think Sean nailed it in the chat. Tate, I don't think was ever good, even at her peak. So
it's true. I just refuse to bet 44-year-olds. I'm done.
We have Islam Makachev taking I believe it's his first fight night main event. Who was this originally booked against? It
was.
Oh no! This was originally Max Holloway and Rodriguez. God,
and they correct. And they just
there were so many good fights that were on this card that got canceled.
A lot of fights got canceled. To be honest, I was all over Duran win.
Dude, me too. I liked Duran win as well, and that was. Dude, listen to this: Albazi, Osborne, Kutalaladze, Madge, Quarantillo, Burns. D-Rob was supposed to fight Umar and Max Holloway and Nair Rodriguez. That would have been a way better card than what we're getting.
It was actually a really good card.
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah. And it went from good to shit real quick. So,
but this is what we have. So, hit me with it. What do you think here? I think we probably both think the same thing.
So, my thinking is Moises, first of all, is very durable. That's one. He's a really durable fighter. 2, I'm not going to fucking lay 800 on anybody. Makachev is going to win the minutes easily, I believe.
Yeah.
If you're going to take anything here, I think fight goes to decision is probably a pretty good play. I don't see Makachev stopping Moises. I don't see him subbing him. Just to me, he subbed. Who did he sub his last fight? Dober. He subbed Dober, but like Moises is completely different on the ground. Like he's much better. I just see him laying in his guard. With Moises maybe throwing up a sub or two, trying to get a sub, but rinse and repeat. That's just how I feel. And I think Moises might be the bigger puncher here in this fight if they're standing. But this thing is going to the ground, and I think Makachev is just going to dominate and hold him down there.
Yeah, I mean, like you know me. Everybody who knows me knows how much I want to grab big dogs. I tried to find it. I can't. It's just like, so I did make a play here. I took Islam by decision at plus 105 on FanDuel. And my thinking is really, like, I agree pretty much with you. I think if Moises is smart, what he'll do is come out, swing for the fences on the feet, and then try with all his life to sub him when he gets taken down. I don't think he has much chance to do it, to hit it. But, you know, he is a high-level black belt, and that's also my thinking here. Like, look, I actually do think Islam is the superior striker, believe it or not. I agree. I think Moises is the bigger hitter. But if you actually look at Islam's striking metrics, like, they're crazy. Like, you rewatch the Ramos fight, he does such a good job of, like, just minimizing pocket exchanges. They don't really happen with him, you know?
Correct.
And I respect that, and he uses it to set up his takedowns. And, like, but with that said, if it stays on the feet, Moises hits hard enough, he could finish him standing. Like, no question about it. But
if you're going to play Moises, honestly, like, the sub line, I think, is kind of off. I mean, plus 1,200.
But that's yeah.
It's a little off to me just because I think Moises is the better BJJ practitioner.
For sure. If they probably kill him.
Yeah, and to me, it's going to be down there for a while. So might have his opportunities. Yeah, Makachev is very good positionally. He's smart. Yeah. He doesn't go, like we said before, he doesn't go submission over position for the most part. But he did in his last fight because he knew Dober had nothing for him on the ground.
Which I don't think he'll do that. And that's why I played decision because, maybe Moises will gas out here and, lose down the stretch. But, regionally, he was in multiple 5-round fights regionally. Like his issue has always been an output issue. It's never been like a talent or gas issue. And like you touched on it, Moises is an elite BJJ practitioner. It would be Benny Dariush got 11 minutes on top of him and never got close to him.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not happening in this fight.
It would be surprising if Makachev stopped him. And, like, Islam is not like Khabib. He's not going to throw, like, vicious ground and pound. Like, he'll stay active to not get stood up, but he's not going to posture up, really. Like, he's going to kind of just try to solidify the position and ride it out. Now, maybe, who knows? Maybe he's got a main event spot, and he'll turn around and go and do that and fuck us, and it'll be great. Awesome. But, I just don't personally see it. So I took Islam decision. I think 4-5 decision is like minus 180, which I also think is nice, since I think an Islam finish is probably predicated on the grappling wearing Moises out. Yeah.
Now, here, the other aspect of it is, have we seen Islam go 4 or 5 rounds?
That is a good question. I'll be honest with you. I was going to play RDA against him at like plus 450.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too. I don't blame you. But that's another thing. Like, it's 5 rounds. He hasn't. I don't think he's ever gone to the 4th or 5th round. So, like, what's his get? I mean, he's gonna implement the wrestle heavy game. Like, he's gonna be on top, so he's probably not gonna waste a lot of energy. But, like, we don't know what his cardio is gonna look like in the 4th and 5th rounds. And I think, in that Dober fight, like, he pretty much controlled the whole fucking fight.
Yeah.
Like, I think he was slowing down, honestly, towards the end of that fight. So,
and Dober has no get. Like, the thing, like, if I do, like, Moises played off his back too much with Dariush, and that's really the sample we have of him on the mat. And so it's like, if I knew he had the get-up game like an RDA and say, like, I liked RDA just because I'm like, I know RDA is going to kick his legs, he's going to go to the body, he's going to do things that are going to make him uncomfortable and wear him down.
And he's not going to sit on his back. He's going to try to get up.
Right. Whereas, like, Moises, can't you imagine, like, Moises has always had, like, this, like, tendency to not throw strikes. It's like, if you told me Moises worked up and he was going to actively throw leg kicks, throw to the body and let his hands go, okay, I'd be in. But, like, I just haven't seen him doing that to really trust he can do it here, to be honest. So,
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he looked good. Honestly, he's looked better. His last fight against Hernandez, I mean, he looks improved, but
yeah, he did look improved. He
does, and I think he's not even, what is he? He's 26 still. I mean, he's still a young guy. I mean, and he can improve. I mean, even though he's in his 20th fight already.
Yeah, he was like I think he was the RFA champion before it merged with LFA, like years ago, something like that.
Yeah, you're right. He was
Yeah,
in the RFA.
way-
He was in the RFA. He was their champion and then lost when it became LFA.
we lost to Robert Watley, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. Spot on.
Jamal Emmers, I think, when he was down there.
Oh, yeah?
But yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I can't. At this line, I can't comfortably get behind Moises. I don't think. I'm on Islam decision. I think that's a decent bet. I think 4 or 5 decisions a decent bet. Like you said, goes the distance. I think it's pretty.
You know what? You're turning a minus 800 into minus 105 with his best, probably most likely path of victory. I think that's a great bet. That
was what I'm just looking at it and I'm like, this is probably like 60, 65% that this is going to hit, right? And
to be honest, it might be higher just because of how Islam fights. And like we said, he's going up against a guy that he knows is very skilled on the ground. So he's not going to take those chances.
No, he's not. And I think he nailed it. Like with Dober, he knew he could do whatever he wanted. But if you go back and watch his fights with like Sarukian and Chris Wade, there's no fucking around when he's down there. And
it's not like Sarukian is like some fucking high level BJJ guy, but he's still,
Yeah. But anyway, that'll do it tonight, guys. Mike, thank you for coming out on the show tonight. I appreciate you joining me. You want to shout out anything here while you're on here?
No, that's it, brother. Nothing.
Well, you can find Mike on Twitter at NarcoCop. Great follow, good guy. Check him out. He's been on the Fair Play podcast before. A lot of fun to interact with. As usual, I'm John Stargarian. You can find me on Twitter at MMA Fox. Guys, if you like the show, drop a like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here next week, same time. Thanks again, Mike.
Take care, buddy. All right, bye-bye.